Hey there, it's Katie Jarvis with Managing the Mess. If we haven't met before, I'm a K-6 elementary art teacher, and I teach right here in a Title I school just outside of Washington, D.C. Today, we're going to be talking all about art room supply organization. We're going to start off by talking about some of our basic supplies, such as crayons, things that kindergartners and first graders use frequently. I like to keep down low so it's easily accessible to them. The crayons I have divided up into 3 different containers, and I have them here on this bookshelf. I just printed out boxes of crayons and laminated them and decorated the bookshelf with that, so that when we have all the crayons out and the bookshelf is empty, students can see that this is where the crayons go to put them back in the right spot. These little containers that you see here are just from Dollar Tree. This is for our skin color crayons, so I put those little multi-cultural crayons inside of here. We pull those out when we're doing our self-portraits. I have one for each table for students to share. I have special crayons, so my glitter, metallic, construction paper crayons, they're all together. I tend to use those as an incentive, like, oh, if we do really good listening, I'm going to let you use the special crayons on this project. And it just works like a charm. It's a super easy incentive that you can use that isn't really any extra effort. We have those always available. And my regular everyday crayons, this is in a little bit more sturdy bin. This is a Sterilite bin. This is a great size. I love it because it has a little flap on each side for students to open up the lid so the lid fits on really tightly. Whatever you have in your room, if you do have lids on it, I recommend labeling the lid, because I have found in the past that I would find lids all over the art room, or things would get mixed up, like these lids would be on my markers and things like that, and then it's really hard to figure it out even for me. So labeling lids is super important. This works out great. I've bought these before in bulk, both from Target and Amazon. I'll put a little link down below. The only thing with this is the students tend to shake these sometimes as they're walking to put them away, but I teach them at the beginning of the year, if you shake them, you break them, so that they do take care of the crayons. One of my favorite little spots in my art room, I apologize, it is super bright in my classroom right now, is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is where the pencils live. Now, I wish I came up with this. I actually had a student come up with it. I had always had the pencils in the same spot, and a student had asked me one day, where are the pencils? And I was just so exasperated that I'm like, where do you think the pencils live? And they thought about it for a second, and then they said, Pennsylvania, and that is when the name stuck. And really having the name, having this little sign, I get this from Michael's, but I have a link for this, something really similar to this from Amazon that you can use, helps them to remember that space. I have laminated, and then there are circles where each table cup should go. And then I have a cup, I got these from Target, for each table to keep their pencils in. We do have a pencil hospital, again, a fun little Amazon purchase. And this is where all the broken pencils go. Just as a way of running my art room, I do not have students use any class time to sharpen pencils. The noise kind of gets to me, and just their frantic energy of constantly wanting to sharpen things does as well. So I have another set of pencils in the front of my room where they can change pencils out if they need a sharp pencil, but I don't allow students to sharpen them throughout the class. So they keep them there so I know which ones to take care of in the afternoon. A more recent addition to my art room is this tower of early finisher drawers. I put several sets of drawers on top of each other. I took a picture of what was in each drawer and also typed on top of that what was in that drawer to label the drawer, but it helps emerging readers if you do have pictures. Then students simply just pull out the entire drawer, and they can take this to a table or take this to the front carpet. It makes cleaning up really easy, that they can clean up right where they're at and then put things back super simply by sliding things back in place. Another change that I made to my art room this year was I have these awesome stencils. There's a hexagon, rectangles, circles we use really frequently, squares and triangles for these little stencil tracers. And I always kept them in my storage closet, and I would only think to get them out if I really had planned a project around them. But often students would say, is there a circle to trace or something like that? So I decided to keep them open on my bookshelf so students could access them at any time, whether using them for a project or using them if they're in early finisher. The markers that we use for projects, I always keep them out and accessible on my countertops. The ones in these little colorful bins, I only use for my upper grade students. These are containers that I got at Michael's. I just kind of like the fun, colorful lids. I put labels on these. These are over on Teachers Pay Teachers as well. On the front and the back and the sides and the top, so there's no mistaking, those are the marker containers. What I put in there were these super tip markers. It's new to me this year, but it comes with 100 colors, so I just dumped one of these into each box, and then I have one of these for each table. My younger students, if they use markers for their projects, they use the smelly markers, the Mr. Sketch. These really last a long time, and even if they lose a lid, you have a little bit more time to find that lid with Mr. Sketch. I find they're just like extra juicy markers, so they're my favorites. I have these in little Sterilite drawers. This could be like sponsored by them, but it's not. And they color code them to put them back. We keep a little jar of extra lids near the marker so students can easily put those back and take care of them. I mentioned that these are only for our projects. So if we have like a free day at the end of the quarter, we have a ketchup and pickle day, I put all of these nicer markers away and we get out some of our older markers when we're just coloring things for fun. I, this year, officially got rid of the Elmer's glue bottles, and for liquid glue, I'm using two different options. At the beginning of the year, I use these glue sponges, especially with kindergarten. It's just a sponge with glue on it in a little airtight container. I store these within the cabinet on a tray. I think the trays are from Lakeshore Learning, and so are those containers, and that way we can pull them out and use them, but also it's super easy to slide them and put them back away. We've also been loving these little glue jars. I feel like I've been talking about these in all my videos lately. It is simply just a little jar. It comes with a brush built into the lid. And you do have to teach your students how to use this. They have to wipe it off like it's a nail polish bottle. If they want to set it down on their table, they can because the lid is flat. These are bigger at the bottom, which is nice because they don't tip over super easily. You do have to refill them from time to time. What I have been doing is I pick off any dry glue that might be on the rim. I fill them up with the Elmer's glue, and then right on this rim part here, because people were asking where, right here, I put on petroleum jelly. And that makes it so when the glue does stick there, it's super easy to pull off. I find it doesn't stick really very much to it, and then the students can easily open and close these. In the summer, I filled these all the way up to the top and just left them like that, and I didn't have any trouble with mold or anything like that. And I think this is going on year number 2 for me using those in my art room. All of my paintbrushes are in this cabinet, and then I just pull them out as needed so students know exactly what paintbrushes to use. I love how these are organized, that they're in a larger container with smaller containers inside. Each of the smaller containers is labeled so students know what paintbrushes to put away there. These are the wisp brushes that we use. Another favorite of my students is these little fan brushes. As you can see, they come in different colors. This is the brand Royal Langnickel. Having them by color really helps to refer to those colors to students so they know exactly what you're talking about as they're learning the names and how to use those paintbrushes. The Royal Langnickel brand is super durable. I definitely recommend it. Some of these paintbrushes we have had for years. I took pictures of our paintbrushes and made these labels last year. That's something I shared over on Teachers Pay Teachers. Go ahead and check those out if you'd like to support me. I let my students put the paintbrushes away in the morning, but I don't allow students to wash the paintbrushes while they're in art class. What I do is I do a different system where I put a little dishpan into the sink, and we call it our paintbrush hot tub. In reality, it's just cold water and some dish soap, and we fill it up and students plop their paintbrushes in. After the class leaves, I shake it and rinse it and shake it and rinse it several times, and then I dump it into an over the sink strainer. It's something I got on Amazon. I can definitely link it down below, and they dry overnight in that strainer with the water just dripping down into the sink. And then in the morning, students use the pictures and they follow along to help me sort the paintbrushes and put them away. I do have a paintbrush obsession, and we have some awesome high quality paintbrushes. I love these large paintbrushes for painting in our sky and ground to create backgrounds in our artwork. And just this year, we got some new tools for sgraffito. Kind of reminds me of something you'd see at the dentist. It's a paintbrush handle, but there is a little rubber tip to it. This one's even double-sided. Students paint with a regular paintbrush, and then they use these tools to add in a little bit of visual texture. If you'd like me to make a video going into detail about the different paintbrushes that we have and how we use them in our art room, I would love to make that video. Make sure you comment down below if that's something that you'd like to see. In my classroom, I store all my paint in the cabinets behind my objective posters. The kind of paint that I use is the Crayon washable Tempera Artista 2. So it is a washable paint. I think it works really great in the elementary room. If the price is a little bit too high for you, the Versa Temp I have found is really similar. Maybe the only difference I've noticed is that the Crayola is a little bit thicker. Whenever I get new paint, I write the date on the top in Sharpie, and that way I can rotate and use the oldest paint first. Now, I don't have my students access the paint directly from these cabinets. I'm gonna share in another segment of this video how I distribute the paint to the students. While we're in this cabinet, I thought that I would share how I store and distribute oil pastels. I can really only reach easily these first two shelves, so I store my oil pastels up here at the top. In the past, I'd stored my oil pastels in those really big chip containers from Dollar Tree, and I liked it, but they're really big and cumbersome to store. And I also found that sometimes the oil pastels would roll and fall out easily. So last year I switched. I got these, I guess it's like a shoebox size from the Dollar Tree, and what fits inside are these 3 sectioned containers, and 2 of them fit inside of these shoe boxes. So I set up, just like a buffet, 2 of these in my room in 2 different spots. And this works a lot better for me. Using the class packs, I had a lot of like traffic jams in my room where students were all trying to get into one box, but this way I can spread them out so students can spread out as well. When they're done using the oil pastels, they simply just sort them and put them away. I'll share a couple different ways that I distribute paint to students. One of my favorite ways is that I use styrofoam or plastic egg cartons, and I put a really big one inside of these Sterilite bins, and then 2 of these go on each table. I would do this with my 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. I just continually refill the paint right on top inside of these egg cartons. Now, I had shared this strategy before and got the question of how do students mix? I have students mix by using little containers that are disposable. There's these little stand cups, I think they're called, that I've ordered from art supply catalogs. I've also been able to get things from the cafeteria. Students take a popsicle stick and they scoop out the paint that they want to mix. They stir it up here, and then they use it out of the cup. There's a lot less paint wasted using this method, and then they simply just throw these away, but they haven't mixed the paint that is for the group. The Sterilite bin container love fest continues. When I am distributing paint to kindergarten and 1st grade, we don't use the egg cartons for fear that all the colors would get muddy and mixed. Instead, I use Greek yogurt cups, which is great because the paintbrushes can stand up inside of the container. And I put them in these large, it's like almost an under the bed organizer bin, and then all of the paint is in there ready to go. When students are done painting, they simply just put the cup back into the bin, and I can close this up. And this prepped paint will also last for weeks. If you have a lot of paint in there, I could easily last you a month. Another strategy that helps with the younger students is to have centers when you are painting. I have a lesson that I did recently with my 1st grade artist. You can find it over on Teachers Pay Teachers. We made a 4 seasons tree. So we drew the tree together with the oil pastels. Over on TPT, there are lesson slides that you can follow along, as well as video to show your students. And then when the students started painting, they applied the paint with a Q-tip, and each of my tables was a different season. So I used, you can find these at the Dollar Tree, those like acrylic sign holders, and I made one for fall, and the Sterilite bin at that table only had the fall colors inside. Another table where students would move around to only had the white paint for winter. So students were very focused in reading those signs, knowing what season they were doing, and knowing that they needed to visit all 4 of the tables to get all those seasons painted. I don't do anything special with my tempera cakes. I simply just keep them in a cabinet. I this year started using a cool colored set and a warm colored set, which is working out really great. I also have a skin colored set, so I have the blacks and browns and peach and white, and then I have a neon set that I keep in a little drawer here down below. When we're using them, we pull them out as needed, and then when they are done with them, the students simply just put these on the drying rack alongside of their artwork. The next morning when they're dry, I put them back in the cabinet. So it's very easy storage. I didn't purchase anything special to keep them in. Cafe is where I store a lot of student artwork. It's really a child's toy organizer. I believe I purchased this one at Target. I'll link something similar down below. But this is where we keep our gold and silver paintbrushes. This is a behavior incentive that I use in my classroom. Classes earn a paintbrush and they take it with them when they leave. So it's convenient because this is right by my door. We keep extra pencils here. This is where we store our erasers in the ice cube trays. I love this technique because you can tell if one is missing and alert students to find that. The glue sticks are kept here. I use those jumbo glue sticks so we don't go through them quite so quickly. And we have a little container there with just extra lids. We have a spot for our different hole punches, our rulers, pens, permanent markers, and permanent marker lids. And then we have what we call crazy scissors. These are decorative scissors that we use for collage projects. Keep my scissors on the closet door in this over-the-door shoe organizer. This way we can tell if any of the scissors are missing because there will be an empty pocket. When I'm distributing the ultra-fine point markers or the fine point markers to my upper grade students and the entire table is using them, we use these little organization bins that you've probably seen at Michael's. Definitely wait till they go on sale because the price is outrageous at times. I labeled the inside of the bin and then students can see where those go. And then each bin is color coded by table and tells what is inside. So the helpers can simply just pass these out and put one of them on each table. And when they return them, hopefully they put them back in rainbow order. I sure hope this video was helpful for you. If you're interested in seeing more art room organization, I hope that you will like and subscribe.